In one of the world's first health resorts, the Dead Sea is receding at an alarming rate. Multiple canals and pipelines were proposed to reduce its recession, and though the dangers have been known for years, little has been done on the ground.
Imagine a place so hostile, so eerily silent it feels like the earth itself has given up. A scorched, salt-scorched wasteland, cracked open like a wound, where nothing grows, nothing breathes, and the ground seems to whisper warnings through gaping sinkholes that swallow everything in their path. This is not a scene from a dystopian film. This is real. This is the Dead Sea. Once hailed as a natural wonder nestled between Israel and Jordan, the Dead Sea is now vanishing before our eyes. Its waters are retreating at an alarming pace, nearly 4 feet per year, leaving behind a lifeless, crumbling crust. The land fractures and collapses, as if something ancient and angry is awakening beneath the surface. But here's where it gets truly terrifying. In the heart of this dying land, something impossible is happening. Freshwater pools are mysteriously forming, and in them, fish. Yes, fish swimming, living, where no life should exist, in a place so salty it used to kill everything it touched. Scientists are baffled, locals are whispering, and some are remembering ancient prophecies. Is this a miracle, a glitch in nature's design? Or could it be something far darker? According to mysterious American prophets and long-buried religious texts, the Dead Sea coming to life again could be a sign of the end times. The final warning. Because where water flows in the Dead Sea, prophecy flows with it. And when fish swim in cursed waters, something is terribly, terribly wrong. What's really happening beneath the cracked crust of the Dead Sea? Why now? And what does it mean for the rest of us? Hold tight. What you're about to uncover might shake everything you thought you knew about science, faith, and the fate of our world. A land in peril, the Dead Sea's descent into chaos. At the very bottom of the earth, some 1,400 feet below sea level, lies a place so still, so surreal it almost feels like time itself forgot it. The Dead Sea, once revered in sacred texts and mythic lore, is one of the strangest and most awe-inspiring wonders of the natural world. Its waters are thick with salt, nearly 10 times saltier than the oceans. No fish swim here. No reeds sway. Even bacteria find survival difficult in its briny grasp. For centuries, the Dead Sea has been a paradox, beautiful and barren, sacred and silent, a place of retreat, reflection, and mystery. But now that silence has turned into a warning. The unraveling has begun, the collapse beneath our feet. The Dead Sea is shrinking, not slowly but violently. Every year it loses nearly 5 feet of water, an unstoppable descent that's turning this ancient sea into a geological graveyard. What's causing it is no longer a mystery. What's terrifying is how little we're doing to stop it. The mighty Jordan River, once the sea's life source, has been drained for agriculture, diverted for drinking water, turned from a sacred artery into a dying stream. What once flowed freely now barely trickles, and the Dead Sea is left to starve. On top of that, the region's scorching climate turns the basin into an evaporation engine. Under a sun that shows no mercy, the water vanishes, drawn into the air faster than nature can replace it. Then comes the extraction. Millions of gallons of water are pumped out each year by mineral companies in Israel and Jordan, harvesting potash, bromine, and other valuable elements from the sea's shrinking body. The profit is great, but the cost is catastrophic. What's left behind is a landscape that feels apocalyptic. Cracked earth, bone-dry beaches, and worse, sinkholes. Thousands of them. These aren't small dents in the ground. These are monstrous voids, some plunging over 100 feet deep, opening without warning. They devour roads, swallow orchards, tear through campgrounds, and leave behind a twisted, broken terrain that looks more like a battlefield than a tourist site. It's as if the land itself is collapsing in grief. The Dead Sea is no longer just a dying wonder. It's a warning, a cry from the earth, echoing up from the abyss. Faltering hope, the struggle to save it. Governments have noticed, but not fast enough. In 2013, Israel and Jordan announced an ambitious lifeline, the Red Sea-Dead Sea Conveyance Project, a bold plan to pump water from the Red Sea's Gulf of Aqaba, desalinate it for human use, and send the brine residue north to replenish the Dead Sea. A win-win, they promised. Fresh water for the region and salvation for the ancient sea. But more than a decade later, the pipeline remains a dream. Why? Politics. The partnership between Israel, Jordan, and the Palestinian Authority is fragile. Negotiations collapse as quickly as the coastline. Mistrust runs deep and cooperation is slow and brittle. Environment. Scientists warn that mixing waters from two different seas could backfire, causing chemical reactions, algal blooms, and further ecological damage. Money. At an estimated $10 billion, 0 cents, the cost is staggering. Investors hesitate, engineers face brutal terrain, and every delay means more damage. Other voices, like environmental activist Noam Bedin and the Dead Sea Revival Project, call for more natural solutions, such as restoring the Jordan River's flow. But idealism crashes into bureaucracy, and while the debate rages on, the waterline keeps falling. Time is not on our side. What lies beneath? As the Dead Sea recedes, it exposes more than dry earth. It reveals a deeper truth, a hidden story written into the salt, the silence, and the shifting ground, one that echoes ancient prophecy and stirs modern fear. The fish that have appeared in freshwater sinkholes nearby, the ground that splits without warning, the slow death of a sea once considered eternal. Is this merely environmental collapse? Or something more? Something no satellite can track, no scientist can measure? What secrets lie buried beneath the salt and stone? And when the sea is finally gone, what will be unleashed? The Dead Sea is more than a vanishing wonder. It is a threshold, and with each inch it loses, it draws us closer to a reckoning we no longer have the luxury to ignore. A miracle in the wasteland, life where none should exist. Amid the bleakness of the Dead Sea's decline, a phenomenon so astonishing it defies belief has emerged. In the sinkholes, those gaping wounds in the earth, small pools of fresh water have begun to form. Even more shocking, these pools, with salinity levels below 1.5%, are teeming with life. Microorganisms thrive, and most incredibly, fish have been spotted swimming in waters that should be a death sentence for any creature. Reports from researchers like Noam Bedin, who has documented these changes through the Dead Sea Revival Project, describe these pools as a glimmer of hope in a desolate landscape. The presence of fish is particularly baffling. How did they get there? Some scientists speculate that underground freshwater springs, mixing with the receding saline waters, created these oases. Others suggest the fish may have traveled through irrigation channels or natural streams connected to the Jordan River. Whatever the cause, the sight of life in a place called dead is nothing short of extraordinary. This phenomenon, though localized, has captured global attention. It challenges everything we thought we knew about the Dead Sea and raises a haunting question. Could this be more than a natural anomaly? Could it be a sign, as some of America's greatest prophets have foretold, of a world on the brink of transformation? Voices from the past, American prophets, and the end times. For centuries, visionaries have warned of a time when the earth would undergo dramatic changes, signaling the dawn of a new era. In American culture, two figures stand out for their eerie predictions about the end times: Edgar Cayce and Nostradamus. Their prophecies, though rooted in different eras, resonate with the strange events unfolding at the Dead Sea. Edgar Cayce, The Sleeping Prophet's Vision. Edgar Cayce, 1-877-1945, known as the Sleeping Prophet, was a uniquely American figure whose predictions, delivered in a trance-like state, captivated millions. Cayce foresaw a period he called the end times, not an apocalypse in the traditional sense, but a time of upheaval and renewal. He spoke of geological shifts that would reshape the planet, with barren lands springing back to life as a sign of nature's resilience and humanity's awakening. In one of his readings, Cayce declared, "The earth will be broken up in many places, but from the ashes of the old, new life will emerge." He described regions where water would flow anew, reviving desolate landscapes and signaling a shift in human consciousness. The freshwater pools and fish in the Dead Sea's sinkholes seem to echo this vision. Though small in scale, these changes suggest that nature is fighting back, reclaiming life in a place long thought lifeless. For Cayce, such events were not just environmental, they were harbingers of a global shift, urging humanity to reconnect with the planet and embrace a more sustainable way of life. Nostradamus, the seer's cryptic warnings. Nostradamus, 1503-1566, though French, has a profound influence on American culture, with his cryptic quatrains studied and debated by scholars, enthusiasts, and pop culture alike. His prophecies, written in the 16th century, are often interpreted as predicting environmental upheavals and societal transformations. One quatrain, frequently cited in American discussions of his work, speaks of waters rising in the desert, bringing life to the forsaken. Many believe this refers to a time when nature defies expectations, signaling the end times, a period of crisis that forces humanity to confront its mistakes and seek renewal. The Dead Sea's emerging pools of life fit eerily into this framework. While not the grand rivers Nostradamus described, these pockets of fresh water challenge the notion that the Dead Sea is beyond saving. His prophecies also suggest that such changes are tied to a broader awakening, where humanity must choose between destruction and transformation. In the context of the end times, the Dead Sea's revival could be a wake-up call, urging us to act before it's too late. What do these changes mean, and are they truly a sign of the end times, or merely a quirk of nature? Let's dig deeper into the science and the mystique. Science versus prophecy. Decoding the Dead Seas. Mystery, the scientific lens, a natural phenomenon? Scientists approach the Dead Sea's newfound life with cautious fascination. The presence of fish in sinkhole pools is remarkable, but not inexplicable. Underground springs. Freshwater from subterranean aquifers likely seeps into the sinkholes, diluting the Dead Sea's hypersaline water to levels where life can survive. These springs may originate from geological faults in the region. Human-made channels, irrigation systems, or natural streams connected to the Jordan River could have carried fish to these pools, explaining their presence. Localized impact. The pools are small and isolated, with no evidence that the Dead Sea itself is becoming less saline. At 37% salinity, the main body of water remains inhospitable to most life forms. Researchers like Noam Bedin emphasize that these pools are a rare bright spot in an otherwise grim situation. The Dead Sea's overall decline continues unabated, with sinkholes posing growing risks to infrastructure and safety. Without significant intervention, such as restoring the Jordan River's flow or completing the Red Sea-Dead Sea pipeline, the sea could shrink to a fraction of its current size within decades, leaving behind a barren wasteland. The spiritual lens, a sign of the end times. While science offers a rational explanation, the prophecies of Cayce and Nostradamus frame these changes as more than mere coincidence. They saw the end times as a pivotal moment in human history, a time when environmental crises would force humanity to confront its impact on the planet. Cayce spoke of a new consciousness emerging as people recognized their interconnectedness with nature. Nostradamus, in his cryptic verses, hinted at a time when the Earth's transformations would mirror humanity's need for renewal. The fish in the Dead Sea's sinkholes, though a small phenomenon, resonate with these visions. They symbolize hope in the face of despair, a reminder that life can persist even in the harshest conditions. For those who believe in the end times, these changes are a call to action, a signal that we must change our ways to avert catastrophe and embrace a new era of harmony with the earth. Could the efforts of two nations hold the key to saving this dying sea? Or are we witnessing the unfolding of a prophecy too powerful to stop? Israel and Jordan, a shared struggle to save a treasure. The Dead Sea is more than a natural wonder. It's a cultural and economic lifeline for Israel and Jordan. Tourists flock to its shores to float in its buoyant waters, while industries on both sides extract valuable minerals. But as the sea recedes, both nations face dire consequences: collapsing tourism, devastated local economies, and a tarnished global image. The fight to save the Dead Sea is a shared responsibility, but it's fraught with challenges. A fragile partnership. In 2013, Israel, Jordan, and the Palestinian Authority signed an agreement to launch the Red Sea-Dead Sea Conveyance Project, a bold plan to pump brine from the Red Sea to the Dead Sea while producing fresh water for the region. The project was hailed as a win-win, stabilizing the Dead Sea's water levels and addressing water scarcity in an arid region. But progress has been glacial. Political strife. The relationship between Israel and Jordan is often strained, with historical tensions and regional politics complicating cooperation. The Palestinian Authority's involvement adds further complexity as disputes over water rights and land persist. Environmental risks. Scientists warn that mixing Red Sea water with the Dead Sea could trigger unforeseen consequences such as algal blooms or changes in water chemistry that could harm the sea's unique properties. Financial barriers. The project's $10 billion 0-cents price tag is a major hurdle, with funding disputes and competing national priorities slowing momentum. Alternative solutions like restoring the Jordan River's natural flow have been proposed by environmentalists like Noam Bedding, but these ideas require unprecedented cooperation and investment, which both nations have struggled to achieve. A race against time. The Dead Sea's decline threatens more than just the environment. In Israel, coastal resorts and agricultural communities are at risk as sinkholes encroach on infrastructure. In Jordan, the loss of tourism revenue could cripple local economies. Both nations recognize the stakes, but their efforts are hampered by mistrust and logistical challenges. The appearance of life in the sinkholes offers a glimmer of hope, but it also underscores the urgency. If Israel and Jordan cannot act swiftly, the Dead Sea could become a symbol of failure in the face of the end times. What do these changes mean for our planet, and how do they fit into the prophecies of a world on the brink? A warning from the abyss, the Dead Sea's message. There is a place on earth that once shimmered with life, flush, green, overflowing with abundance. Ancient scrolls and sacred texts spoke of this land as Eden-like, a cradle of fertility nestled in the heart of the Middle East. But that paradise is gone. What remains is a lifeless basin, soaked in salt and silence, where the sun scorches cracked soil and the air hangs heavy with decay. This is the Dead Sea. But something has changed, and the earth is whispering again. As its waters recede, vanishing at an unnatural speed, new pools of fresh water are appearing, bubbling up from beneath, and in those pools, impossibly, are fish, living, swimming, thriving, in a place long believed to be cursed. Scientists call it an anomaly. Locals call it a miracle. But those who remember the old prophecies call it a warning. According to the cryptic visions of Edgar Cayce and Nostradamus, the end times wouldn't arrive with a bang, but with transformation, a shift, a moment when the earth begins to rewrite its own laws. The Dead Sea's strange revival may not be a resurrection, it may be a reckoning. Nature is speaking, but in a language few dare to interpret. Where there was death, there is now life, but at what cost? The crisis engulfing the Dead Sea is not isolated. It is a reflection, a mirror held up to our world. Years of overexploitation, unchecked climate change, and human indifference have drained this once sacred body of water. Its fractures are not just in the ground, they run through our systems, our beliefs, our societies. And yet, in those sinkholes and those tiny flickering signs of life, the earth seems to be offering a final chance, a test. Can we recognize the warning? Will we answer the call? Because this isn't just about a sea, it's about us. A call to arms, preparing for the end times. The Dead Sea is not dead, it's speaking, and what it says should make your blood run cold. Its story is one of ruin, but also of resilience. Those freshwater pools, those fish, are not mere biological quirks. They are symbols of resistance, of survival, and of the planet's stubborn refusal to give up on us. But they are also challenges. They dare us to change. They demand that we listen. The prophets of old warned us. The end times would come not through fire and brimstone, but through confusion, upheaval, and a choice. A moment where we must decide whether to fall into despair or rise with intention, whether to consume or to conserve, whether to destroy or to rebuild. The Dead Sea is that moment, frozen in salt and silence, and it is fading fast. This is not the time for silence, not the time for apathy. It is the time to awaken, to see the signs, to feel the urgency, to act before it's too late. Because this is more than a shrinking sea, it's a prophecy unfolding. Environmental collapse, political chaos, spiritual disconnection. These are not coincidences, they are converging storms, and the Dead Sea is at their epicenter. Master, whether you believe in science, in prophecy, or both, one truth remains: the earth is calling. Will you answer? Share this story, spread the word, support the efforts to restore this ancient sea and reimagine our place within it. Because the Dead Sea, with its quiet miracles and ancient secrets, is more than a headline. It's a message, and it may be the last one we get.